I'm gonna just, go on a limb here and say that from what I have seen normally from shonen, when it comes to backstories or, flashback episodes and a major fight with, like, an in-game villain, especially an older character, like a father-type character, usually that character ends up dead as fuck. I've seen a lot of shonen, I've read a lot of manga, watched a lot of anime, and that's usually what happens. And so, because of this episode, because of the details we're getting on Umibozo's, past and how he met his wife, this man's dead. Like, that man is going to die. You don't even tell me. It's pretty fucking obvious he's probably dead, because the death flags right now is pretty real. Like, a lot of death flags. I mean, especially when, his dick stood up, and apparently he crushed his own balls again. Like, oh, God. Like, damn. So, yeah. A lot of death flags in this episode for Umibozo. He's probably not going to make it out of this fight. And if he does make it out of this fight, he's probably not going to be the same person. He's probably going to be less of what he once was. One or the other is probably going to happen. So, we'll see where that goes. Where, Gorilla Sensei wants to take that. Anyways, though, this episode gives the much-needed characterization to Kagura's mother. It's a character that we have seen hinted at and talked about a lot throughout the journey of Gintama. It's something that many of us have wanted to know the details on. We've always known that there's been tension in Kagura's family. We know, Kamui and Umibozo, they have their spat and disputes, and it mainly centers around, him leaving, but also the mother. And when you look at all of this, it's constantly been focused around this character that's been hidden in the shadows. And finally, for the first time, we hear this character, we hear the voice, and we get to see what the mother of Kagura was like, and what made Umibozo make a family in the first place, how he managed to have children. And so this episode dives in to Umibozo's past, and how he saved the Yato's planet, but also how he found love. So, before I get into the details of this episode, I just want to say that I really love it when Gorilla Sensei focuses on some romance. Like, when there's romance episodes, which are kind of rare when you think about it. I mean, Gintama has, like, every fucking genre known to man. However, romance in general, like, romantic episodes, are very few and far in between each other. And I'm glad that this episode was that, because, as I've said many times in the past, besides psychological anime or manga, I really love the romance genre. And this episode kind of focusing around, love, romance, and all that, it's something I truly love and appreciate. It's my personal taste. But on top of that, though, Gorilla Sensei can really make some good romantic episodes. Episodes that really just hit you right in the feels, and you're like, even though it's funny and you're having a good laugh at certain scenes, overall, the way he has this character interaction and the way the characters fall in love with each other, how we see this romance, it's so enjoyable. And you're like, damn, I mean, I would love to see Gorilla Sensei focus on a romance series, maybe one day in the future or whatever, focus an entire arc on romance, because this shit is just good. I really love it when Gintama does arcs like this, or little episodes or whatever, chapters, whatever, how many chapters it was. I just love these type of scenes in Gintama, because they're very rare, but when they are done, especially romance, it's done in a really good way, and I truly can get behind the characters and say, I ship these two, or I care about these two, I'm behind the relationship, I'm fine with it. That's how I feel when I watch episodes like this of Gintama, and I don't think there's any relationship I have seen in Gintama when it's actually built up and all that, Gorilla Sensei wants to focus on it, that it doesn't feel right. I always feel like it's a good romance, the way it's built up, and the way these characters fall in love with each other, or how they're separated or whatever. I just love the way he does that. But anyways, though, so Umibozo, he goes to the Yato's homeworld, and we get to see the legend of what made this man what he is today. Why everybody says he is the strongest. Why he is literally the legendary Umibozo, the strongest Yato, the strongest person in the entire universe. This is why he got this legend. We get to see the details about this. And so, he goes to the Yato homeworld, not to actually save the planet, but actually because he lost a bet, apparently. He lost a bet, and so he had to hit on a girl while he was there, and eventually he discovered Koka. And when he discovered her, eventually he started to fall in love with her. He caught interest in her. It started off as more of a gag at first in this episode, seeing how, like, he said his dick stood up, and at first glance you might think this is sexual, but at the same time he states, like, the reason why he feels like this is because in his instincts, he was scared for his life, so he needed to fucking, like, mate or whatever, and that's honestly kind of true, a little bit exaggerated when you think about it, but overall, it's in our instincts, if we're in mortal peril, that we want to probably mate or, you know, have a child or something, and that's kind of what was going on in this episode, and when he was, you know, fearing for his life, he felt this emotion, that is why that happened, but it was a little bit more exaggerated in, you know, standard Gintama fashion. And so because of this, he was trying to control his emotions and he wanted to speak to Koka as a person. He actually crushed his oh my, like, it hurts me talking about it. Like, it legit hurts me talking about it. This man crushed his own fucking ball sack. Like, oh my god. Oh, Jesus. Like, okay. Like, I don't even, oh. But yeah, the man crushes his own balls. And he straight up, he starts to talk to her like everything is normal now. He starts talking to Koka, and he tries to find out details about her. Apparently, the entire Yato world has been misunderstood. Yes, it's a rotting planet, the water's rotten, the food is rotten, or whatever, but overall, everything was kind of a misunderstanding. The Orochi, the giant-headed monster that was popping up, that monster actually wasn't evil. It wasn't something that was trying to kill everyone, even though on first glance it does. It's actually just a very playful creature that wants to, you know, just, you know, be happy, or it's excited when it sees someone come to the planet because it hasn't barely seen anyone at all since all the Yatos were just run off the planet. So when, you know, Umibozo arrived and he was acting all, like, evil or whatever, it wasn't because of that it wanted to do harm to him. It was just a very playful creature, even though, yes, it'd probably kill someone if it tried to play with them. Overall, though, it's not trying to hurt someone and be vicious about it. It's just being like a playful, like a puppy or something. And so when you see that, and you see how it eventually calms down and it gets used to Umibozo and all that, I'm like, yo, like, that's interesting. Just seeing the backstory of how the planet was. Okay, so we've heard so many things about the planet, the Yato's homeworld, about it's a vicious place, and how it was, and how Umibozo saved it or whatever. He did things, and then now we know the truth behind it. And so eventually, when he started getting closer to, you know, Koka, he found out about her, of how she, you know, she's the last remaining person on this planet. She's carrying the legacy of her entire clan. And she even states throughout the episode that, you know, she can't really leave the planet at all. And that kind of just flies over your head a little bit. It really does. And then the episode continues on, and eventually, over time, she gains feelings. She has these feelings of loneliness, love, and all that form inside of her, and she wants to be with Umibozo. She wants to leave the planet and be able to be with the person she loves, which eventually forms this relationship between them, and they have kids. We get to see a younger Kamui, and then we see, you know, Kagura as a baby. And over time, once all this is done, she gets very ill and sick, which we've heard about this part. We've kind of had hints, and we've been told a little bit about Kagura's mother, that she got sick or whatever, and she apparently died. And what we see here is that right here, she got sick because she left the planet. She was connected to the planet. I'm assuming, I don't know though, but I'm assuming that she got used to, you know, how the planet was, like she had this bond or connection with it, and she was, like, used to the atmosphere or whatever, and then it caused it to where, you know, once she left that, like, her body started breaking down, or maybe her connection to the planet's very similar to how, you know, Utsuro is. That's also a possibility. However, though, she's starting to die, and we have another flashback episode apparently next week that's going to dive into her death scene, so that's probably when Umibozo's probably going to die, I'm assuming so. But with the next episode focusing on her death, what really shows with this episode is that there's a big misunderstanding between Kamui and Umibozo and also Kagura. See, Kagura didn't really know the truth overall. It seems like she's came to peace with her mother's death overall, but it doesn't seem like she really knew the entirety of the story of what happened and how it seems like her father is responsible for their mother's death, but it's really not that. You can see from Umibozo's perspective that he does blame himself. He's like, he didn't listen or whatever, he just went over his head when she said, like, she would die if she left the planet. He actually realized he kind of didn't think too much about it. However, though, he also has a misunderstanding. he didn't force Koka to leave the planet. He didn't. He just gave her emotions, he just wanted to spend time with her, and she developed feelings. She wanted to be with him, and she decided she wanted to leave the planet. And so because of this, you see that it was her decision to use the last remaining years of her life to spend with the people she loved. And so, Umibozo thinks it's his fault, but in reality, it's like she willingly did that. She didn't do it because she was forced to. She willingly gave up her life where she can have time of happiness with Umibozo and her children while she could. And so, it's very sad, but I feel like Umibozo blames himself too much, but also calmly doesn't understand the truth either. He thinks his father is the whole result of why their mother died, or why the mother died in the first place was because of him. But it wasn't that. So that's probably going to be cleared up in the next episode or whatever, and he might come to realization, like, holy shit, I've been viewing this wrong. But then, once all that's done, he probably, like I said, he'll probably die to Utsuro. So yeah, the episode was enjoyable. It was a good episode, a lot of details about, Umibozo and his wife, and I really love Koka's character, I really do. It's kind of sad she's dead, because I'd like to see her in present day, Gintama, but we're not going to see that. Still, I did like her character from what I saw of it in this episode, so let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.